Sure. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to serve as the moderator for this conversation today. My name is Melanie Peck. I'm the Chief Program Officer at USGBC California. That's the United States Green Building Council, for those that don't know our very long acronym. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why we're here today and then get us kickstarted with some questions. So the panel today will explore the entertainment industry's green jobs and early career opportunities. Our discussion will focus on how clean energy, sustainable materials, and green production standards are reshaping production practices and creative decision-making. And hopefully, as you sign off today, after what we hope will be a robust conversation, you will understand the environmental impacts of production and live events, learn a bit more about sustainability in entertainment and the importance of it in the current landscape, and how sustainability is becoming part of creative and business decision-making processes. And also critically gain knowledge on the transferable skills to work in environmental sustainability. And I'll go ahead and start with myself. So as I mentioned, my name is Melanie Peck. I'm our Chief Program Officer at USGBC California. And what that means is that I design and manage programs and services that engage businesses, schools, individuals, teachers, educators alike in maintaining and engaging in sustainable practices. And my journey into sustainability, my career, how I got here is anything but a straight line. I started as a disaster volunteer working in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, doing building and waste mitigation work. And then I decided I wanted to be an art teacher. So I did that for a little while. And then I went back into energy education. And I've worked in HR for a large utility. And really, for me, the underpinning that sort of brings me back to sustainability and that sort of being the foundation is that I believe that everyone deserves the dignity of a high quality job. Everyone deserves the dignity and having a safe place to live. And for me, that means a healthy place to live and to work. And that means sustainable. Sustainability is foundational. It is not separate. It is across industries, across jobs. It's the air quality in your home. It's the air quality in your workplace. It's how and what materials are used to build your home. The health of you as an occupant in your school or in your job. It's how energy is being consumed at work and at school. And it's also critical for employment. Sustainable practices, as I mentioned, are cross-cutting. They spread across all industries, including, and importantly, entertainment. And we are finding from data that is telling us, employment data, that folks who are acquiring sustainable certificates and knowledge are 10 to 20% more employable across all industries. So very excited to have this important conversation today. Excited to kick it over to our wonderful panel. And I will go ahead and begin with some introductory questions. So panelists, can you please share your name, your title, your organization, and a snippet about your career journey to sustainability? And I will go ahead and start with Kent.
Thank you, Melanie. Well, it's great to be here, and I'm excited to be part of this panel and under the direction of Melanie and her fine hosting. um, my path. So my name's Kent Hayward. I'm a professor of film production at California State University, Long Beach, and I teach undergraduates. I've just started a new class called Sustainability in Film, and I'm also a co-founder of the Green Film School Alliance and an author. I wrote a book called Green Filmmaking, and it's all about sustainable practices in the film industry and incorporating sustainability in your content as well. My briefly, my journey into sustainability was from, I used to work in editorial and in visual effects on different TV shows and movies and stuff. And I just saw that we were throwing away a lot of stuff. and it felt very wasteful, especially, of course, at wrap time. And I don't know, being a thrifty person and someone with grandmother from the Depression, I have certain like thrifty habits myself, and so I thought like, oh, if I was starting to teach at the time, and I said, hey, there's got to be a better way for us to do this, and in discussions with students, really, there was an interest in this idea of bringing that sustainability practice into the practice of filmmaking, and here we are. So that's me.
Welcome, Ken. Thank you so much. I will pass it to Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica Elson. My pronouns are she, her. I'm calling in from Crestline, California, which is the land of the Serrano people, not too far from LA. And yes, Kent and I have been working together on the Green Film School Alliance for almost 6 years now, I think just about 6 years. And I came to sustainability in film because I was working at the American Film Institute, where I had also studied previously. I was a thesis production supervisor. It's a very small program, like the whole school is about 300 people for the entire grad school. And we started kind of noticing some trends in the industry. I remember starting to notice when I went to see movies, seeing the Emma Green Seal and the Emma Gold Seal. And I also started noticing that, before I had seen it in a lot of Disney movies, a lot of Marvel movies, but it was expanding and kind of becoming more of just like a lot of movies were implementing these practices. It was not simply huge tentpole movies. And so I thought, well, that seems like if a lot of people are doing it, why shouldn't we, right? Even though we are, at the student level, smaller program, like let's take a look at what our impact is. And so I just like did some like very sort of back of the napkin math, and realized that just for like our film productions, we were wasting about 100,000 plastic water bottles a year. And I was like, I can't even imagine if we were a bigger program, what that would be like. And that's not on campus, that's not in class, it's not like anything else like that. So my boss at the time and I just started looking into like, well, what are some things we could do differently? And we formed a committee with a group of students and got their input. We started the AFI Green Initiative, and it was just really successful. Like people responded really well. And this was all the way back in like 2017 when this was not really quite as much of the norm. And one of the things we noticed was our students were really excited that we were like making these new rules, if you will. They were like, we hate the plastic water bottles too, but we kind of feel like we can't do anything about it. But if you say no plastic water bottles on set, then everyone has to listen. And so from there, we expanded to many other things because every time something would come up, they'd be like, well, can we do this more green? Can we do this more green? And then from there, we started meeting more people in the industry who had been doing this for many years. And I was connected to Kent. We started Green Film School Alliance, and then we expanded from there.
Wonderful. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
and I should say also, now my main role is at Sundance. I work as a digital course and event producer for Sundance Collab, and I'll talk a little bit later about the resources that we offer for filmmakers around the world there.
Wonderful. Exciting. Thank you, Erica. I'll go to Amanda and then Miranda next.
Okay, great. Thank you all. Erica and Kent, I just want to say I really love and resonated with what both of you have said so far. But yeah, I'm excited to be here. My name is Amanda Kielian. I'm a senior sustainability manager at Fox Corp. And that's really the umbrella organization that manages the different divisions under Fox. So Fox Entertainment, Fox Sports, Fox television stations, Fox News, and then the Fox studio lot in LA. And that's where I sit typically. And then just a note on my personal career journey. For me, it really started back in high school. I watched a documentary in a class called The Cove, and that honestly changed my entire perception of the world at that time because I feel like I didn't know about any of these issues. And it really just made me overall just more passionate about social and environmental issues, which ended up being a catalyst for me in a sustainability field and career. So from there, I ended up majoring in environmental science in college, and then I did environmental consulting post-college for about 5 years until I got this role at Fox. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. And I've been at Fox just about 6 years.
Wonderful. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Miranda.
Hi there, Miranda Jackson. I'm a senior sustainability analyst at the Walt Disney Company. I'm focused mainly on waste and circular economy, data and strategy within the entire enterprise. So, production, but also theme parks, office spaces, everything. And I started technically as a pre-vet mathematics major at the University of Florida. And through that work, kind of pivoted into aquatic microbiology, which eventually brought me to getting a master's degree in that and to go to California. And then through networking on LinkedIn and going to the Hollywood Climate Summit, I I was connected with NBCU's corporate team and got a contract on their team, and then pivoted to on-set sustainability management, and then pivoted into corporate sustainability at Disney. So my role to get to here is a lot of pivots, but all focused on reducing entertainment's impact on nature, and specifically improving the ocean and the lives of people who rely on the ocean.
Wow, we have such a great panel. This is very exciting to hear from all of you. And I think, as we dive further into the questions, just asking the participants in the audience, these folks have obviously a wealth of experience and a wide variety of motivators that brought them here. And just really underlining it's not all a straight line. And Miranda, I'll just keep using your pivots. There's a pivot, but skills and sustainability can help make that pivot more successful and impactful. So with that, we'll move into more of our sustainability in practice conversation. And Amanda and Miranda, I'll start with you both. If you could please give some examples of what sustainable productions look like today. And Amanda, I'll start with you. And if you could pass it to Miranda, that would be great.
Sure. No, that sounds good. In my experience so far with sustainable productions, it's really a lot of the little things. So, I always encourage our crew to bring reusable water bottles to site. Our operations team like to always have hydration stations for them to fill up on site. Having people carpool, having all of our production crew properly manage waste. So, having compost and recycling as, in addition to regular trash, so that 3-stream waste, but also managing cardboard and other waste streams. And then for excess materials that we don't have a proper stream for, just making sure, as Kent mentioned in the beginning, like we are donating as much as possible. And that's been a big thing for us. So just leftover set materials, catering, you name it, we've donated it. So those are some of like the smaller things on a day-to-day basis, but lately we've been focusing on some of the big things as well. So like integrating clean energy on site. We've been looking to source as much renewable diesel as possible instead of traditional diesel. We also track our energy, so really creating a baseline, and then we're able to compare different productions and, determine how to make impactful changes based on that data. And then I'll say lastly, really trying to push sustainable messaging as well and content. That's a big thing. Like I mentioned in my intro, for my personal journey, it was seeing climate, and social issues on the screen. So trying to push our teams to integrate little things here and there on screen when it makes sense. So those are some of the things I've worked on and that have been successful for us. And I'll throw it to you, Miranda.
Yeah, no, you did a great job kind of just doing like kind of everything that I have noticed also happening on set. So amazing. I think and that when I started in sustainability on set, probably about like 2.5, 3-ish years ago, that was kind of the main focus was always like waste reduction, alternative materials, partnering with each department to make sure that they're doing kind of these very like listicle items for each department. So like for catering, we want to make sure like they're reducing meat that's offered, or implementing reusables for crew to use instead of with plastic knives and forks. But I have seen, especially being now on more of the corporate side, a big shift into emissions reduction, kind of energy strategy type things. It's been the primary focus, largely due to changes also in the kind of corporate sustainability space of like wanting to reduce emissions and that being the main priority. But I will say it's also still really important to keep the people who are really focused on like the waste and the material side of things in the loop, because I think those are, now that emissions are looked at so heavily, that can be kind of like what everyone focuses on. Having that waste reduction strategy still implemented, I think, is really important.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'll move to Kent and Erica. If you could dive into this a bit as well, maybe including some things you've worked on as instructors or that you've seen students working on.
Yeah, so like I mentioned before, the plastic water bottle thing has been very successful. I think just generally trying to bring people towards like not having single use at all is a really great goal for student productions. And then similarly to what Amanda was saying, encouraging the trash sorting, also pointing students to like, because not everybody knows like how easy it is to compost or recycle. And so like in LA, for instance, just like reminding them that there are places they can just go drop this off and someone else will turn it into compost. But kind of just we focus a lot on like the prep and what they can research ahead of time and what they can commit to. So thinking like, okay, if you are going to have people compost, like where are you going to go drop it off? Who's going to be the person who drops it off? Similar with recycling, making sure that like if they're getting a waste hauler, that they are going to recycle it, or that they pick someone who does have that in their program. And then we have had a lot of luck with battery-powered generator companies being, well, I shouldn't say luck, I should say they're very nice, and they have often been willing to loan demo units or given a heavy discount or given a student a free unit in exchange for a little bit of coverage on how they used it. So for the students in the audience, if you are someone who's like, oh, I want to do this, but I don't have the budget, there are so many tools in sustainability that you can do without spending more money, because a lot of this is like new tech and people are excited for students to use it because you're going to go and work in the industry and you'll be able to say, hey, I used this Volt stack and it was really cool and here's all the things that it did. And then maybe your producer on that side will be like, great, let's pay for a Volt stack. So that's what we did at AFI. We had a small Volt stack that was really great for like crafty or hair and makeup and stuff like that. And the students got so excited about it that they were like, how do I get a bigger one? So then we worked with vendors like Cinegear and Cinelease, and they were able to offer kind of a similar rate to a gas generator. And so students started using it because it ended up being a huge cost savings because they didn't have to get a fire marshal. So in the student world, we use a lot of things like that where we're like, okay, so like we want to get you to think about doing it more green. What are the obstacles? Is it budget? Let's overcome it this way. If it's the rest of the crew not being that excited, I always try to find like what's your buy-in. So, the battery power generators are really quiet. So that's helpful in another way. You don't have the fire marshal costs, you don't have the cabling. And so these kinds of strategies I always recommend to other educators to think about, like how can you make this exciting for everyone if their entry point isn't just like it's the most green thing to do. And then another thing I wanted to mention, and Kent will talk about the PG in a second, but it's just the idea of like creating a little healthy competition in the student world. So when we first launched the AFI Green Initiative, before we had other schools participating, we created a like in-house competition where we had people fill out a checklist of best practices, and whoever got the most points was going to win a prize. I didn't even say what the prize was at the beginning of it. I was just like, it's the most points. Look at what this team has. You have to get more points than that. And we were aiming for like, we're like, if you get like an 100 or something, that's great, And the team that got the most points that first year was like 220. And they kept coming into my office because they had already shot, being like, has anyone beat us? Like, do we still have the highest number? And it was just about being the most green team in school. And so eventually we did give them a prize, but like the prize was, kind of irrelevant. It was really about getting the most points. And so we've created a little bit of a similar healthy competition amongst our schools where we're like, oh, look at this school. They've gotten this many. Can anyone beat them? And so one thing that I wanted to show real quick is one of our schools, Vancouver Film School, they actually decided to make it really visible in their student lounge. And so they created essentially a green seal wall. And this is the very beginning of it. This was the first 5 green seals that they got. And so this is a student lounge. They painted the whole backdrop, put this up. And so when students go in, they see the seals, they see the names on the seals. And so then that gives them incentive to like get their own name on the wall as well. And Kent has a few examples as well, so I'll turn it over to him.
It's such a good idea. I'm going to steal that idea. Yeah, so I've got a couple of things. Some of my students, likewise, have been very like excited about, competing with each other, and certainly, never underestimate the value of a fabulous prize. And sometimes fabulous prizes are like, oh, it's the Nature Conservancy tote bag I got for contributing one year. And that's great. Um, but here I'll share with you a couple of cool things that some groups have done. One group, it's as Erica said, one of my groups was really interested in these generators. They're battery units. Generators, one of my DP friends tells me is a misnomer since they're not really generating electricity, they're holding electricity. But I think a lot of people just call them generators. But anyway, this student was doing a sort of a story about a family that was dealing with living on Earth, but Earth was getting used up, and they're starting to go to another place, and not everybody could come. And it was this kind of sad story about moving on. And they reached out to Sandset Fleets, and I had talked with a company, this new company as well, about this topic. I think I met them at an event sort of like this, and they loaned my students this generator unit, which they used just to we tried to you put charge it up with sustainable energy, and and brought it to set, and it was great for nighttime use. As Erica said, there's no smelly, loud diesel generator or anything. The cabling is minimal since you don't have to put a generator like super far away. And it was great. Some other students have picked up. Here's some students who put together a kind of an initiative, and they made a local, like a school club of the Green Film School Alliance, and they went ahead. They applied for a grant, a micro grant from Long Beach, and got enough money to start their own kits, their own green filmmaking kits, which they made 4 and donated 1 to a local high school group, high school media making group. And they had green, biodegradable laundry and cleaning products. They had compostable, cutlery and plates and cups and stuff for craft service. They have water refilling stations, pump water refilling stations. They have a little green guide that they made themselves, and they just had a whole lot of fun with it. And also were able to secure some other donations from other groups. They have like a little recycling kit and some other stuff. It's great. Another group from Florida, one of our Green Film School Alliance groups, put together a sort of a kit, their own kind of a kit about refilling water bottles, and they have a whole like really cool method that they put together, which includes different colored caps for if this jug has been opened, if this keeping track of what's sort of for sanitary reasons, but also like just keeping track of all of the bottles. Like, and so they had different color caps. They had different pumping units. Some general notes about ways to stay sustainable and cleaning of their units. So they put together this little proposal. So yeah, I've got another student who did a really cool who's finishing at Penn University right now, who's I'm advising on her graduate project. She's doing an article about, or a thesis about barriers to reuse, to like recycling and not wasting, especially construction materials on sets. And that's a huge thing. Mixed construction waste is like that's a big mess, literally. And so she's investigating barriers on that. I don't know. I learn a lot from my students, and they've really been inspiring along the way. I could show you. Should I show you? Should I jump into Peachy as well,
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a great next step. And I think you both touched on it a bit, but if there's anything you want to elevate on how productions of different sizes can implement these green practices would be helpful too. And that might lead well into the PG. So, and any other resources for students you want to mention?
Oh, great. Yeah. Well, if you want to follow some of my students on their projects, they've got a Green Film School Alliance Instagram. There's an Instagram for the larger nationwide group, but also for the local Long Beach one as well. Um, and I'll show you. Let's see. You can also look up resources on the Green Film School Alliance page. There's a course. We have a video course for that's sort of a free video course for learning sustainability practices put together in cooperation with NYU and Emily O'Brien from Earth Angel. And we've got a bunch of other resources on the Green Film School Alliance website, greenfilmschoolalliance.com. And here's one of the principal tools that our productions use. It's a PG, which is another tool that you can download from the Green Film School Alliance website. And it's a spreadsheet tool and a checklist. It's very much like Peach, which is the industry version of it. We adapted it, sort of downscaled it a little bit, or simplified, I guess I should say, for student productions and smaller independent productions. And there's some of my students have put together this one. If you've never seen Peachy before, or Peach, it's pretty cool. It's divided into different sections. Just like a production, there's a production department, and here we've got development and pre-production. Here we have sort of production and supplies. Here's art, construction, props. Here's camera, grip, and electric. And each section has different questions. Did you shoot digitally instead of on film? Was 50% of your lighting package using energy efficient lightings like LEDs? Did you dim the lights between takes? Did you donate and reuse expendables, etc.? And for each section, you get a certain point value for each one that you did. This blue section here is for what you plan to do when you're prepping for your production, and then this green section here is what you actually ended up doing. And they're different. Sometimes we try things, or we want to try things and we don't get to it, and that's okay. We're human. We don't have to get everything right all the time. And then you get a point value at the end of it. And if you get a certain number of points, then you are eligible for a Emma Green Seal. But it's a great tool. And the fact is, checklists work. That's science. If you've read the Checklist Manifesto, it's a whole book about how checklists can save everything from NASA rocket launch to complicated surgeries. So, it's easy. You wouldn't think a checklist could be so effective, but it is. So yeah, there's a lot of free ones up there for you, and even other ones besides Peachy.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Kent. Thank you, Erica, Amanda, and Miranda as well. We'll move to the next part, which is really diving into sustainable storytelling and what the future may hold. So thinking about everything that we've absorbed thus far, and this question is for anyone who wants to answer first. But what new career paths are emerging around sustainability and entertainment? In your experiences, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I can go.
Oh, thanks, Miranda.
Great. So, I mean, as someone who is not like a stranger to a pivot, I think sustainability specifically has a lot of transferable skills that can go from a hard science background to corporate sustainability to literally working in nature. So, there's a lot of opportunities in sustainability because of all of those things, whether it be you're an SME, which is like a subject matter expert on one specific part of sustainability entertainment. So that might be like, say you are an electrical engineer and you want to go work on set and be more sustainable. We, like everyone was saying, we have all of these new kind of battery packs, power stations that we are using on set. An electrician and electrical engineer is really useful on something like that. And then say that you're a chef and you want to kind of lean into more of the, I don't know, like eco-friendly cooking and providing those alternatives. There's a lot of opportunities to kind of get your way into the entertainment industry that way. Me personally, I am in the process of trying to create my own path, kind of a pivot again of sustainability producing. And so I think specifically there's a need for people on like the decision making side of sustainability and entertainment and production to be kind of being a voice for sustainability on set. It can be hard when you are a sustainability coordinator, at least in my experience, kind of advocating for sustainability when you don't have an advocate. And so I'm kind of working towards how to prioritize like the financial bits of a production to prioritize sustainability so it becomes more of a production norm. And it's not easy. Creating a new kind of space in the production space and in entertainment is not easy, but that's kind of also the vibe of sustainability, is doing the impossible.
Wonderful answer, Miranda. Thank you so much. Does anyone else on the panel want to add on before I ask the next question? Okay, hearing no one jump in, I will ask the next question. On the same vein of the future of sustainable storytelling, how can students and early career creatives position themselves to work on green productions? I've heard a lot of flexibility and pivot as sort of things, but how else can folks position themselves to be successful in
Yeah,
green?
I can jump in on this one.
Wonderful.
So the great thing is that this is, the idea of working as a sustainability coordinator or peer or something. This is something that is fairly new and that people of older generations did not get the training to do. And so the people who are students right now are in a unique position that they can actually learn this in school and have a pathway to a job. So I think that's like a super important thing to keep in mind is like you don't need to be a double major in environmental science and film. You can literally just do the thing and then you will be able to get into the industry with a leg up compared to people who didn't make their capstone or thesis film sustainably. So a couple things I wanted to suggest if there's anyone in the audience who is interested in working in sustainability in film. First of all, just actually getting a green seal is a great way to train yourself because the PG is directly based on the peach. As the peach gets updated, the PG is getting updated as well. And the idea is that you're fully trained in how to fill out this tool. And we also even encourage students to try some of the other tools. Like there's also the pear and the plum, plum being for lumber, pear being for carbon emissions and everything, carbon footprint. So if you learn the tools, then you've already positioned your health in a great way. Kent also mentioned this course that we have available that was developed by NYU. So I'll quickly just show you a couple of resources on our website. But if you go to the Green Film School Alliance website, you can see a bunch of different things in terms of our initiatives. You can download the PG right here. Even if your school is not in Green Film School Alliance, you can absolutely do the PG on your own. So you do not need to be a member school. You can fill it on your own and send it directly to the Environmental Media Association. We've had people do this and earn green seals themselves. And then if you go here, you'll see some of the toolkits that Kent mentioned, and some things that I just mentioned, like the plum and the pear. And so you can familiarize yourself with that. There's all kinds of different things here. And the more familiar you are with what's going on in this sort of new green tech, the more of a leg up you'll have in the industry. And then a couple things here. This is the course that we mentioned. You can click on this link and simply create an account. It's free, takes about an hour to complete. And then a few other things. We have Ken's book here. But we have also for educators in the room a bunch of different like teachers guides and signage and example videos and past panels and things like that that you can use to inspire your students as well. And then the other thing I'll mention is if someone is interested in this and their school isn't a member of Green Film School Alliance, why not? It's free to join and you'll meet a group of like-minded people. So get your teacher, production faculty, chair to join us. You'll be able to join the student ambassador group. This is a great way to make connections. We have student ambassadors all over the world who are doing this, at a sort of a higher level and advocating in their own schools for other people to do it. And so the more people you meet, the more opportunities you'll hear of. All the time we get inquiries from people in the Sustainable Entertainment Alliance that will be like, do you know anyone in Utah? Do you know anyone in Chicago? Do you know anyone in Ohio? And they're just like, I need someone local who can come in for a week or two, who is entry level, who knows this stuff. And so by being a member, you can meet people like that, come to more of these panels, meet us, email us, tell us you're interested. And this is a great way to get your foot in the door.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Erica. On the mention of training, I did just want to mention that USGBC California and BRIC are hosting, I think it is next week. Sochi, are you able to drop that RSVP form in the chat?
Yes, I already did.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so just on sort of the value of obtaining some foundational certifications that will help you be more employable long-term. The Sustainable Production and Energy Certificate is being hosted next week. Well, I guess this week if you start this coming week by BRIC, and it is free for students. And it is a 5-hour course that provides a very strong foundation in many of the topics that the panel has covered here today. And highly recommend taking advantage of that opportunity and RSVPing for this free certificate training. Anything you want to mention on that, Sochi, additionally for the RSVP form, or I can move on to the next question if we have time?
No, we're good to move on. I just dropped the link, and if you're interested, please complete it, and we will reach out to you confirming your attendance.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so just on this same sort of skills and opportunities within entertainment, for the panel, are there any skills that can be seen as transferable skills in sustainability careers within entertainment? And I think you all touched on it a little bit. If there's anything you want to elevate, that would be very helpful.
Well, I can just say, that one of the cool things about making movies and being in entertainment is that it's like a field that encompasses a bunch of fields. And so, if you're just the same way that's peachy spreadsheet I was showing you earlier, or the peach spreadsheet, or really any of the checklist tools, like break things down by department, there's within film, we've got construction, there's, Miranda was saying it before too, there's catering, there's food, there's, it's all together. So all that stuff, works into different fields as well. So, if you're an electrician's, if you're a gaffer, you're using sustainable things on set. You're also, you can bring that into the green energy economy, and that's a growing sector in California. And there's so much that's applicable to other. I have a student who's now doing like sustainability consulting for like nonprofits and city government and stuff as well. So there's a lot of things that are transferable.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll add, in addition to kind of like the hard skills, there's also a lot of soft skills that I think transition from like you literally learn in school into this space. And a lot of it, I think, boils down honestly to like empathy, meeting people where they're at. A lot of sustainability is kind of seeing what's a need, seeing where people are at, and kind of pivoting them into a more sustainable practice. So I think knowing enough to be able to communicate with people why sustainability is important and then what alternatives and solutions are there. Honestly, having a passion for sustainability at all goes a really long way. I believe it's very strongly why I am where I am, despite not having a background in entertainment. A lot of my entertainment skills I've learned within the last 3 to 4 years, and it's been great.
Wonderful. Thank you, Miranda.
And I think I'll just add a little something to that, Miranda. You just sparked this. I was, when I'm on site and trying to maybe encourage a new practice or see if we can trial something, I think it really is like meeting people where they're at, like you said, Miranda. And I think just celebrating the small wins with those people as well, just to keep them encouraged and keep them going. I think sometimes like sustainability can be a little daunting and people are scared to like make those changes, especially if they've been like doing the same thing for many, many years. So really just, yeah, I think approaching people with empathy and just, just kind of making it a slow transition. And again, just celebrating the small wins, I think goes a long way.
Small and sustained wins.
Yes.
are sometimes better than the big change that doesn't sustain. So I think that's a very important point. We do have about 5 more minutes before we're opening up for questions. So I have one more big picture question, and I think we'll have time for maybe one panelist to answer. But given all of this that we've discussed today, what does the future of sustainable filmmaking look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
Let me put on my psychic
Vision
thinking
goggles.
cap here and get out my crystal ball. It's really, I mean, in one way, we don't know. We have no idea. But what I hope is that we will, we will not be calling things like sustainable filmmaking and sustainable, green architecture, and it'll just be like filmmaking and building or construction or whatever. So that's one hope. But also there really is technology is changing. We're going to need new power sources and more sustainable power, especially as we start to incorporate things like AI and technology that has a huge demand for power. But there's so many other little things we can do. You don't have to have a certificate in this or that. There's a lot of little things you can do along the way, and don't wait till you get your sustainability certification or whatever. You can start now. You can start today in the job that you have, and if that job is even writing or telling stories, the storytelling part of it is big too. We need more stories that have to do with climate storytelling, and not just disaster stories. We've got a lot of those. Those are great. I love them. But also just like Ted Lasso's got that great story line about people about the soccer team getting a oil company to sponsor them, and then they all decide to boycott the oil logo on their shirts, or Abbott Elementary with their whole like, oh, it's so hot today. Why is it hot? Yeah, why is it hot? Little things we can incorporate into our stories, and that's what we do every day when we're talking with each other. So why not write that in your stories? Talk to your people.
I also wanted to add on the note that Kent said. So like Kent and I, it's not our jobs to be, in sustainability. It's a passion of ours that we've like added to our job. So while you can absolutely like do a career pivot and focus on that, anyone doing anything can be thinking and doing sustainability. And that's one hope that I have in terms of where we'll go in the future. Instead of waiting for someone at the top of your company or your production or whatever to say we're doing it this way, just have them do it. Like literally anyone can decide I want to be sustainable, and then you can help people figure out how to do it. And so like in my job at Sundance, I just have decided that I'm going to be the person focused on sustainability because there wasn't someone who was doing doing that. So part of my job now is bringing speakers who can come talk about climate storytelling in a variety of different ways. Like we've had the showrunners of Hacks come and talk about their show, and within that, they talked about the episode they did on climate storytelling. But it's really not just that episode. They incorporate it in little character moments and jokes and funny things throughout the whole show. And it's the same thing. They're not making a show about climate or the environment. They just really care about it. So they're putting it into their work, and then people are doing it behind the scenes because you have that sense of responsibility. So whatever it is that you end up doing, even if you don't end up in film, or you're, at a school that isn't doing this right now, like literally anybody can make this happen. So, think about the small steps that you can take. There's tons of resources out there, and, like ask for help if you don't know how to do it. And I wanted to share one other thing too, which is that there's a ton of film festivals and organizations that are looking for this stuff now. We've been working with the Student Academy Awards that are now recognizing films that have been made sustainably. And so I'll drop a link in the chat, but there's like a million different film festivals you can send your short to, whether it was made sustainably or it has themes of climate storytelling. And then also one of the things that we offer on Sundance Collab is the Green Filmmaker Toolkit, where we try and consolidate resources on the topic, whether it's climate storytelling or behind the scenes. And we have a bunch of panels and events and things like that. So I'll put those links in the chat, but like there are so many resources out there. So don't let what you're doing or how much money you have stop you from getting into this.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm hearing sustainability is inclusive. It's fundamental. It's the small actions. It's the big moves. It's a journey, and we all have a role to play. So with that, I just really thank you all for your answers and your thoughtfulness around the questions that we've covered. We have a number of questions and conversations going on in the chat. So I'm going to look to Sochi to elevate the questions you think are primed for this moment. So we'll kick it to you.
Amazing. And thank you all so much for your insight. I feel like I learned a lot in this conversation, and I wish more people could be here to listen to this, but I'm excited that this will get posted and so we can share the recording. So we do have a couple of questions. First one is, this was a really interesting question and open to anybody, but what are your opinions on maintaining sustainability when it comes to stop motion films as well as puppetry? If anybody has any insight, I really like that question.
Yeah, I think that question's really cool. I have never worked in stop motion films or puppetry, but I do have a friend who, if you haven't heard, they're Susie Hicks, the Climate Chick, and they do Susie and Sprout, and they have a puppet. So shout out to them. But I think a lot of it is going to be more on that materials side of things, reusing, repurposing the things that you're getting, finding a lot of interesting and more sustainable ways of finding those materials. So I was watching a video yesterday, and someone had redone a van, which is not puppetry, but like they were redoing like a camping van, and they built all of the interior of their camping van from old pallets, and that they got for free from someone who was about to throw them in the landfill. So finding some fun ways of being able to find the materials that you use for the puppetry and stop motion filmmaking. There's a lot of small places like Remainders in Los Angeles that have that opportunity for you.
And I'm even just thinking, I also went to Cal State Long Beach, so go Beach. When we would do short films for clothing, we would go thrifting for a lot of these things to be able to reuse clothes rather than purchasing something that's new. And so when thinking about things like puppetry, maybe going to a thrift store and buying that cloth or fabric that people have there. Does anybody else have anything to add? Kent? Yes.
I mean, yeah, I'll just say, like, I have some friends who I worked with in the model shop. We did models and miniatures and things that we, mostly blew up for big movies and stuff. But it takes a lot of parts and a lot of things and a lot of stuff to make something for a movie. And if you're any kind of a maker, you know that building and using stuff is also about reusing stuff. So there's probably a ton of your materials that you can reuse or you can get from somewhere else. There's another place called the Reuse It Shop, I think, in Culver City. There's a whole bunch of places that might have the kind of collect really interesting bits that you can get for free or cheap, and maker spaces are great for that kind of stuff too. If you're when I, some of my friends went on to work at Leica, doing puppetry and stop motion and stuff too, and some of what they rely on is just their ingenuity and creativity in, not, on screen and telling stories, but also in things like purchasing. The person who purchases the plastic or purchases the parts, like you can find vendors that are sustainable. Um, the Green Production Guide has a green vendor, um, uh, like list that you can access, and there's a number of other places that will offer lists of green vendors. So
Amazing. I want to move on to another question that I also thought was interesting. What are some ways to dispose of vapes and cigarettes on set while being eco-friendly? It's difficult to find areas to get rid of lithium batteries.
As the waste head on the panel, I will say real quick that you can always use, I believe it's Earth 911 or Call to Recycle, to be able to find a recycler for anything that you're trying to get rid of, especially things that shouldn't go into the landfill, like lithium batteries. I would say you could use like safe centers around LA. I don't know that safe centers, though, take vape specifically, but if you go to I think it's Call to Recycle. And then I also want to say it's like Earth 311 or something like that. There's Earth 911 and then Earth 311, that you would be able to find places around you that do that.
Anybody else know? All right. This one's kind of a long question, so I'm going to try to consolidate it. My question is, what are some of the best resources / places to learn more about the impact of digital arts and production on the environment, even though digital work isn't usually seen as having a climate impact?
yeah, that's a really good question. A lot of times we think about, yeah, we're not shooting on film anymore, so great, it's not wasteful. Film chemicals were pretty toxic, and but so is like the data centers that we use to store all of our footage, and the hard drive components that are in our electronics, all the electronic components. So yeah, it's in a way we feel like, oh, it's paperless now, we're all on our iPads and stuff, but yeah, there actually really is a big footprint to our digital use as well. So some of that stuff we're still figuring the data out, but yeah, I don't know. I encourage people to, like Miranda and Amanda were both saying, like, your reuse and your recycling, especially your e-waste, that's going to be part of our normal practices from now on. Is what we do with our e-waste.
I just want to jump in and say this is a area of focus that I'm very interested in as well, because we haven't spent enough time on digital practices, and there's so many more now, like with generative AI, streaming, where like we can't even keep up with what the impact is of the new things that we're using, right? So, it's something that we're exploring at Green Film School Alliance. We hope to have a little bit more information about that soon. But if you're working in the field and you're interested in talking about it, or you have resources, you have questions, feel free to reach out because we want to hear about it.
I will add too, in the Sustainable Production for Entertainment certificate, it does introduce quite a few sort of data sets and concepts around digital impacts and the energy intensiveness of streaming, et cetera. And there is an energy module that is planned for launch, which will go into far more detail about those topics later this year. So that's something I'm happy to keep everyone aware of. I think some of you have gone through the spec training, so happy to keep you in the loop about that. But there is a sort of on-ramp into concepts around that in the spec training.
Wow, I wish we could keep the conversation going. We have 3 minutes left. Maybe if we could just really quickly, each person, any final words of advice. Somebody did ask, I have a sustainability education background, trying to break into a career, but haven't been able to get my foot in the door. Just in general, any piece of advice, any words of wisdom?
I don't mind jumping in just on that note. I think, this industry is expanding and growing all the time, and there's so many opportunities just in terms of like ways to get involved in conferences, and like I know LA Climate Week for us in LA is coming up. So just using all of those opportunities to meet as many people as you can and network. I know I was at a conference recently and there were actually a few high school students there, and I was just like, wow, like I had no idea this even existed when I was in high school. So it's just really good to get out there and try to meet people, learn about what they're doing. And just, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there, and just really networking and, getting exposed to what's out there.
I had something I wanted to end with that kind of goes with this, that I think there's like 3 things to find a balance for when you're trying to get into something new, especially as someone with sustainability background going into something that feels not as like direct. And I think it's like being prepared for the opportunities that you're hoping to find, going and actively seeking out those opportunities, like Amanda was saying, and then also being very patient that you and those opportunities will come and find each other. And I'm very bad at finding a balance of those 3, but I do think working to find that balance is really, really important, and kind of keeps the engine running of like you doing those pivots. Those are the things I've tried to focus on. I don't do any of them very well, but the balance I've been able to find has made a difference.
That's fantastic. I do also want to add, just as someone who works in workforce development and sustainability broadly, that building your relationships and your network, giving, getting, being active is so important. It is the connections that have been made and the things that have brought me back throughout my career, and now working with folks that I worked with 20 years ago, not on purpose, completely on accident, because we were interning together, because we volunteered together. And so maintaining that network is super important.
And and don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, ask questions often, and it doesn't make you look foolish. It makes you look smart. I like asking questions. I might be a professor, but I'm kind of an idiot. So, like, I don't know. It's okay to be, to be human and to be humble and ask questions. I think that's important. So, yeah, just jump in and do it. How can you go wrong?
Amazing. Well, we are at time. So I just want to thank everybody again so much for your time on a Sunday and for sharing all of your incredible insight. And I hope you get to join us for the rest of the day for a Talent Education Day. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.